Hello and welcome to Innerlock Studios. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do a portal effect in Adobe After Effects the same way I did them in the Portal Bandits short films. Let's take a look. Okay, so the first part of this effect is of course shoot your footage. For the most part you can film this like you would film anything else. You can lock off the camera if you want to make the effect easier, but it'll look a lot better if you have a camera that's moving through 3D space. You also have to make sure that you get the footage for what you're going to see through the portal. You can just take a still picture of that usually, unless you have something moving in your scene. Make sure you get the camera as close to the wall as you can, and use a semi-wide angle lens like an 18 or 24. Now that we have our footage, we can get into After Effects and start working on the effects. Alright, so here we are inside of Adobe After Effects, and of course we have to start by taking our footage and dragging it into a new composition. So here's our footage, just the portal gun firing, and walking up to the wall, and then looking around at the wall a little bit. And the first thing we have to do is, of course, camera track, because we have a moving camera and elements that we want to stick into the scene and not have slipping around. So for this effect, we're just going to use the built-in After Effects camera tracker, which is not the best camera tracker, but it'll do the job for what we're trying to do. So go to your effects and presets, search for the camera tracker, drag that onto your footage, and you can see that it's automatically started tracking the footage. So before we let that finish tracking, we have to make sure we go under Advanced in the effects controls and click Detailed Analysis. This will make it restart to tracking, but Detailed Analysis will just make it track a few extra points. Give it a little bit better track generally. It'll take a little bit longer, but it doesn't take more than a few minutes. Alright, so now that that's finished tracking, we can see that there are a bunch of points sticking to our scene, which is good because it has also solved the scene. So now, if we select an area like this by clicking and dragging, then we can right click, create null and camera, and now there's a 3D camera that should perfectly match our footage. So to get started on making the portals, let's make a new composition. This doesn't need to be normal resolution, so we can make this 1920 by 1920, or whatever resolution you want. I just want to work with a square because it'll be a little bit easier. So next we have to import our fire trail elements. I'm just going to be using Fire02 from Action Essentials 2. Alright, so I'm going to guide this. I know there's an easier way, but this works, so I don't really care. I'm going to create a new solid and scale that down to be extra thin, marking the center of the frame, maybe about like that. So then we can line the fire up with that white solid, duplicate it, Control D, duplicate, just offset the fire a couple times. So now that we have our fire trail looking pretty good, it looks horrible because they're all synced up, but all we'll do is just offset the timing on some of the elements so that they don't all look the same. Now we have a trail of fire. Wonderful. So we can delete that white solid for now. Alright, so first Control A to select all of the fire elements, and then Control D to duplicate, and without deselecting, right click and pre-compose. And now you can create a new composition for this fire. We'll call this one Inside Fire. So now we have our duplicated fire as Inside Fire, and then we can take the other ones, pre-compose them all by right clicking and pre-compose, and we'll call these Outside Fire. So with the Inside Fire comp, what we're going to do is we're going to select the fire and scale them all to be upside down. So just grab it, and scale them to be upside down. I didn't do that very well. Grab it, drag it straight up till it's upside down. There we go. Now it's the same, basically the same clip, but upside down. So in Comp 1, we just have the same fire upside down. So next thing to do, let's hide one of them. It doesn't matter which one. Let's take the outside fire, grab the polar coordinates effect, take the polar coordinates effect, and apply it to the outside fire layer. So what this effect will do is it'll basically turn this into a circle. So we'll have a circle of fire, so all we have to do is turn the interpolation up all the way, and whoa, that makes it look bad. So to fix that, all we have to do is change the type of conversion to rectangle to polar. And there we go. It's a ring of fire. So now that we have our circle of fire, we have to do the same thing to the other layer, so just copy that effect, paste it onto the other layer, and now the fire is going both ways. We might have to scale this one up a little bit so that they line up a little bit better. So you can see they are lining up all weird. So all we have to do is offset that timing a little bit, something like that. There we go, that looks good. You can also see that there's a little bit of a seam up there. And to fix that, all we have to do is rotate one of the layers away, and you won't really be able to see it. Actually, rotate both of the layers so it's not perfectly at the top. There we go. Now it's mostly invisible. Alright, so we just have a ring of fire right now. It's not necessarily the right thickness yet, but we can fix that in a second. Right now we have to grab the tint effect and apply the tint effect to both layers. And all this will do is turn it to a black and white image, because we're going to be coloring it with a different effect later. So now we can start messing with the thickness of the fire. So what I like to do is leave the outside ring. Actually, the one we named outside fire is actually the inside, and the inside is the outside. So just rename that. So all we have to do to change the thickness of the fire elements is open the inside fire. Is this actually inside fire? Yes, it is. So we'll open the inside fire composition, select all of the fire trails, and just grab one thing and scale it up vertically. Just scale it up vertically, quite a bit actually. This doesn't look great right now, but it will in a second. So now, if we scale down our inside fire, we can see that it is a little bit thicker now. You'll just have to play with that a little bit until you get a look that you are happy with. So another thing you can do to make this look a little bit better is add like it kind of looks like a spinny vortex kind of thing. That just gives it a little bit more detail and a little bit more intensity, in my opinion. This isn't completely necessary, but I still like to do it. So all we have to do is create a new solid, black solid. Name this, I'll just name this Vortex. Right, so next we have to add the effect called Saber by Video Copilot. So if you don't have this effect, it is free, and it's a really great effect actually. You can download it at videocopilot.net or using the link that I put in the description. I really like this effect. It's meant for like lightsabers and stuff. Like you can see it's like this laser. You can change a bunch of the settings, like how thick the lightsaber is. You can change the color obviously to like be a green or a red lightsaber. We're going to leave it on white for now for this effect. But this is obviously not a lightsaber effect, it's a portal effect. But a cool thing that you can do with this effect is have it stick to masks. So if you draw a mask like this, go under Customize Core, change the core type to Layer Masks. It'll have the lightsaber beam stick to the mask. So that's how we're going to make this go into a circle shape. It also has a bunch of different presets. Like, look at all these presets. We're going to use the effect, the portal effect, obviously, because this is a portal effect. Duh. Actually, a lot of them would look just fine, but I'm going to use the portal one because it is called portal. So what we'll do is we'll change the core size to be a little bit bigger than the default, maybe something like that. Core spread, just get something like that. And then we're going to draw a circular mask on this layer. that perfectly matches with the fire ring. Scale it up, maybe about that size. Reposition it until it lines up with the circle. So then change the core type to layer mask, and boom, we have a circle of lightsaber. So drag that to the bottom of your composition. Oh, also while we're here, we have to set the blending mode on both of the fire layers to screen. So right click, blending mode, screen, just like that. Okay, so that's a little bit too intense, and that's not really what we're going for, because that just looks kind of weird. We're looking for more of a spinning vortex. So to do that, all we have to do is add the effect twirl, apply that effect, then you can change the angle to right there maybe, and then you can turn down some of your settings, like maybe turn down core size a little bit. So that's pretty cool, but it's not spinning yet, so all we have to do is rotate the layer. So press R, click the stopwatch by rotation, and then move to the end of the composition and just spin it a bunch. Maybe something like 20 for mine. You just want it to be super spinny. That looks pretty good probably. So now turn on your fire layers, and now there's a spinny sort of vortex thing. That looks pretty cool. So that's basically what our portal is going to look like. We might change it a little bit later, but for the most part, that's our effect. So all we have to do now is add this effect into our main footage. So go back to your main footage composition. Let's drag in the portal fire composition from our project manager. So to make this transparent, set the blending mode to screen. What we're gonna do is turn this to a 3D layer by clicking the box under the cube down here. Now it is sticking to the scene. What we're gonna have to do is manually move this in 3D space until it lines up with the wall where we want it to. First of all, let's scale this to be the right size. So now let's move this. We can see it's way off on rotation wise, so let's change the rotation, maybe something like that. Alright, so I'm gonna say that portal is on the wall. Next thing we have to do is color the portal. Instead of using the tint effect like what would come with After Effects, let me show you this real quick. If I solo this layer and use the tint effect to color it, then change that to blue, then wow, that doesn't really look like fire anymore. It's just basically turned everything that's white to blue. Luckily, there is another effect also by Video Copilot called Color Vibrance. So VC Color Vibrance. This effect is very good at coloring things because it'll keep a lot of the luminance values. So if we apply this, then we can see, wow, that already looks way much better. Way much better. That already looks way better. It's green by default, but we can change that up here. And wow, that's already looking great. So it already looks like it's glowing, and it actually looks like it's blue. So awesome. We have one portal. My shot also has the orange portal. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this and move it over to the other side of the scene to be where the orange portal is real quick. Alright, now my second portal is in the right spot on the scene. Let's turn that to orange. Oh yeah, these portals are there before he shoots them at the moment. One thing that we can do is go into our portal fire composition, and for the first few frames, just scale everything up, or like make it small and then scale up if we want to have the portals open in the shot. If you don't have the portals opening in this shot, then don't worry about this step, but I'm going to do this because I have him firing the portal. So what we'll do is we'll go to frame, maybe frame 4, keyframe the scale on all of them, all 3 of our layers, and then go back to frame 1, and then just scale everything down to a little point in the center. So there we go. Now we have the portal opening, getting bigger. You might want to add some easing on the second keyframe, so F9. Select your keyframe F9, select your keyframe F9. So there we go. Now it'll be less jarring when it opens. So if we go back to our main composition, not that one, this one, and then we drag the beginning to be right when the portal gets fired. Like you can see, they're both opening right now. So if we go to the frame that he shoots the portal off, right about there. So then we'll drag this blue, that's not the blue one, this is the blue one. Drag the beginning of that to be right there. So there we go. Now when he fires it, the portal opens. Great. We have to do the same thing to the other one. So now we'll drag this one to be right there. And boom. Now both of the portals only appear after he's fired them. Also, the orange portal goes out of frame right there, so we can cut that. So right when it goes out of frame, Control-Shift-D will split your layer, and then delete the second half, so it's only there when we need it to be. So there we go. The rings appear in the right spot, and it's all great. Next is the noise. First we have to create a mask for the inside of the portal. Now we could just go around with our masking tool and trace around the portal for the entire composition, but that's a waste of time, and that would take forever, and it's unnecessary. So what we will do is we'll go into the portal fire composition again. So now in here we'll copy the mask from the vortex layer and create a new white solid this time, and then paste the mask onto that. So there we go. Now the portal has like this white in the middle. We'll also have to copy the keyframes, the scale keyframes. So let's copy these 2 keyframes, go into frame 1, paste them. So now if we go to scale, it'll match up with everything. So then we can turn off the other layers, turn off the visibility, and the portal, instead of being an actual fire ring, is just a white circle. We can feather this a little bit, just like 2 pixels. Then we can go back into our main composition, and wow, it's just a white portal, which is great for a Luma mat. So we'll create actually we don't need to make a new solid. Let's just hide the main comp layer. So now what it's just a black and white mat of both of the portals. Now we can use this to show what's through the portals. So you could go through and do all of your like pre-composing to use this layer, but I generally find it just a little bit easier to just export this video. Just go File and Export, save your file as Portal Luma, and just click Render. So now we have this as an actual video file that we can import into our project. So we can get rid of this white solid in here. We can just hide that for now. Turn all the other elements back on, go back into our main comp and turn the footage back on. So now it's back to normal, but what we can do, import the Portal Luma file into our project, and then we can drag this into that composition. So now we can have a white and black footage that perfectly lines up with the inside of our portals. So we can use this as a Luma mat. So first thing we have to do is grab the inside footage for the portals and just put it in the scene. Let's hide that for now. Find our footage right there, this one. So that is what you are supposed to see through the portal. Let's find a good frame, because we only really need 1 frame. I'll use, so right click, time, and then freeze frame. So now this will just stay like that for the whole footage. Then we can turn this into a 3D layer. If we take all of the same parameters from like the position, if we made it all basically the same as the portal layer, then you would say, oh well, it's gonna stick to the wall, right? Because it's just the same as the portal. yes, it will stick to the wall. So let's like make our rotation. Let's just line this up in the scene. All right, so there we go. That's what you would see through the portal. But if we play it, it does not look very good because it's sticking to the wall, which the scene through the portal isn't sticking through the wall, it's back in 3D space. So we'll have to put this actually back in the After Effects 3D space. First, however, we can use this Luma mat. So let's drag this Luma mat here above the footage, the inside footage layer, and then toggle switches mode, and then we can change the track mat to Luma mat portal Luma. Wow, it's only showing up through the portal. Perfect. So for one frame, that looks pretty good. But as the camera moves, it looks less good. So just take this in Z space and push it back. Not super far, but like maybe about there would look good. Just whatever feels right while you're looking at it. So there we go. Now, while I walk closer and further from the portal, you can see the background also moves, and it looks a little bit more natural. Alright, so that actually looks pretty close to what you would see through the portal. It might not be perfect, but this is just a tutorial, so I'll just show you how to do it, and you can make sure that you do it perfectly on your scene. Alright, so I went and did the same thing for the other portal with the other background image. One thing you have to make sure of when you do this is you have to duplicate the Luma mat and put it above this layer, so there's going to be 2 Luma mat layers. So now you can see portal gun fires and both of the portals open. Next you can see that this portal opens and you can already see through the orange portal. And in the actual game, when there's only one portal, you can only see like noise inside the portal like this. So we're going to have to recreate that effect in After Effects and play it through this portal before the orange portal opens, and then we can have it dissolve when the orange portal opens. So start by creating another new composition. So there we go, create our composition, and start by creating a new solid. Call this one noise. Doesn't matter what color it is, I'm using white. And then we add the effect fractal noise. So fractal noise. It's not moving at all, so let's give it some evolution. So we can hover over the stopwatch for evolution, which controls it. Hold Alt and left click. This will open the expression tab. So this is a simple expression to move the noise around. So let's do time times, which is the asterisk, and then something like 300. So there we go. Now it will be like warping, evolving around like this. Now we can play with the settings a little bit, maybe bump up the contrast. It's hard to make this look exactly like in the game, because in the game it's actually not really noise, it's more like animated blobs, but this works. Just change your contrast, mostly contrast. You can change the scale. I'll scale it down a little bit. Now we can add our tint effect. Actually, let's use color vibrance again. Color vibrance, okay. Change it to blue. So we'll take this effect, leave that here. Actually, let's name this composition to noise. Okay, noise. Now we'll go into our footage comp and drag the noise composition in. Now we have to give this the exact same properties as the portal fire. Let's click P. Actually, first we have to change the noise to a 3D layer as well. And we'll take the position of the portal fire and put the same position into the noise. So let's click P. Change it to, let's copy this, paste, copy this, paste, copy this, and paste. So now the noise should be in the same position. Next we have to put the same rotation. So click R on portal fire, click R on noise, copy the 14, 28, and 0. So now it has the same properties as the portal fire. We can scale this up to fit And now we will have to apply the Luma Matte again. So let's copy this Luma Matte. Actually, no, just duplicate it. Drag it above the noise and change the noise to a Luma Matte. So there we go. Now we have our nice noise in the portal. It's a little bit extreme right now. Like it seems like it should be less blue and more matching the fire. So all we'll do, turn up the brightness on the noise, turn down the contrast a little bit maybe. So there, maybe that looks a little bit better, maybe not. I guess it all depends on what you want. That might be a little bit too bright. Maybe something more like that. So there we go. Now we have our noise in the blue portal, and we need it to disappear when the orange portal opens. So that's pretty easy. All I'm going to do is when the orange portal opens, when the orange portal starts to open, maybe on the second frame of it opening, we'll take the noise, Control-Shift-D to split it, and uh-oh, now it's above the portal Luma, so we'll have to Control-Shift-D, split that as well. Put that above noise. There we go. So now we just have two iterations of the exact same layer. So what we'll do is we'll take the noise layer, the second part of the noise layer, set the blending mode to screen, or maybe blending mode to multiply. There we go, that looks better. So now we can slowly change the opacity down while it opens. So now the opacity, go maybe 5 or 6 frames and then drop the opacity to 0. Make sure you click the stopwatch to keyframe it. And now, there we go. Now when the orange portal opens, the blue portal noise vanishes. So great. The portal effects, the portals themselves are basically done at this point. All that we have left to do is add the rest of the effects, like the muzzle flash and like the little portal beam from the portal gun on both of these shots. We'll have to add some like heat distortion around the portals. We'll add some sparks and some glows and maybe some optical flares to make it look good. Alright, so I'm gonna go in on mine real quick and add all the effects that I like to add. Alright, so I've done all of my effects that I want. So I added some of the glow in the portal gun chamber. I added some muzzle flash and that little swirly beam thing. I added some sparks, that little shockwave thing. I added some lens flares. Actually, just a lens flare for when it shoots and when the portal's opening. I did the same on the other side, so when it shoots, the portal chamber turns orange. There's a muzzle flash, a glow, some sparks over here, some sparks on the blue portal. Once everything's all put together, we have this. Alright, well, that is going to do it for this tutorial. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this helped with whatever project you're working on. Feel free to subscribe if you like this content. Check out my channel for the Portal Bandits videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see ya.